Hello, dear viewers. Namaskar. Welcome to Moksha Media. You are with Moksha Hiramat. Most of you may have heard the name of the drama Abhijnana Shakuntala in Kannada. And some of you might have seen that play, Abhijnana Shakuntala. It is written in the 19th century of Common Era. Even today, that Abhijnana Shakuntala drama is famous and popular. The playwright who wrote that play was Basavappa Shaastri. Many of you don't know the name of Basavappa Shaastri. He was in the period of Mummadi Krishnaraja Vadiyar and Chamaraja Vadiyar. Mysore Vadiyars were the feudatories of Vijayanagara kingdom. After the fall of Vijayanagara kingdom, Mysore Vadiyars declared themselves as the kings of Mysore. When Vijayanagara kingdom, Vijayanagara empire was at its climax, that Vijayanagara empire protected Kannada language, culture and literature in so many ways. But after the fall of Vijayanagara empire, the people of Vijayanagara felt they were orphaned. At that time, Vadiyars of Mysore came forward and carried forward what Vijayanagara empire had. The kings of Mysore were given prime importance to Kannada language, literature and culture. They fostered so many poets, philosophers, royals, etc. in their own ways. Now we are celebrating Dasara. That Dasara was begun at the time of Vijayanagara empire. After fall of Vijayanagara empire, the Dasara has been continued even today. So, what are the qualities in the Vijayanagara empire have been continued in the kingdom of Mysore. And Mysore Vadiyars, even though they were from north, stood forward in the protection of Kannada language, literature and culture. Kannada was an official language, state language at that time. So even they were feudatories of British Empire, but they had their own sayings in the British Empire. Of course, they maintained their own province, and Mysore Vadiyars were the heads of Mysore province. At that time, we can see the persons like Basavappa Shaastri. Basavappa Shaastri was a poet, philosopher, playwright, translator, author, and prolific scholar. He was the court poet of Chamarajendra Vadiyar. Of course, that Basavappa Shaastri was born in May 1843 in Narasandra village of Magadi Taluka, Ramanagara district, Karnataka, India. He was a descendant of Veerashaiva Maheshwara. He was belonged to the Renukacharya tradition of Veerashaivism. His grandfather was Muruda Basavaswamy of Rudraksha Mutt, Narasandra of Magadi Taluka, Ramanagara district. His parents were Mahadeva Shaastri and Basavamma. Mahadeva Shaastri was the presiding priest of Mummadi Krishnarajendra Vadiyar. In the beginning of Mysore kingdom, Mysore Vadiyars were Veerashaivas. But after some time, due to some state problems, they accepted Sri Vaishnavism. Even though they accepted Vaishnavism, they performed 7 types of worships in their palace. And the worship of Veerashaivism is one of them. Even today, the Veerashaiva worship has been followed and practiced in the palace of Mysore. So, that Mahadeva Shaastri was the presiding priest of Mummadi Krishnadevaraja Vadiyar. That is why it became very easy for Basavappa Shaastri to grow up in Mysore palace. He was educated in the guidance of Garalapalli Shaastri. That Garalapalli Shaastri was a court scholar of Vadiyars. Basavappa Shaastri was proficient in Kannada and Sanskrit literature. Basavappa Shaastri is known as a poet, but not only a poet, he was also a playwright. He composed Krishnaraja Abhyudaya at the age of 18 years. He wrote Savitri Charitre in Shatpadi meter, Bhartrahari Subhashita in Vrutta meter, Niti Sara Sangraha in Kanda meter, Damayanti Swayamvara and Renukacharya Vijaya in Champu form. Of course, his poetry is very fluent, full of feelings and romantic one. But we remember Basavappa Shaastri as a playwright more than a poet. He has 7 dramas to his credit. Those seven dramas played an important role in the province of Mysore at that time. Even today, they are very historical. As Basavappa Shaastri was a good scholar in Sanskrit, he knew what was there in Sanskrit literature. Whatever good is there in Sanskrit literature, he has brought into Kannada literature in his own way. That is the speciality of Basavappa Shaastri. I have already told you his fame reached to its climax in writing Avijnana Shakuntala, a romantic drama in Kannada. His other dramas are Uttara Ramacharitre, Rattavali, Malati Madhava, and Surasena Charitre. 6 dramas out of 7 dramas are based on Sanskrit plays and topics. Surasena is a different one. It is very interesting to know that Basavappa Shaastri translated Shakespeare's Othello into Kannada as a Surasena. You might have think that Basavappa Shaastri knew English very well. No. I have already told you, it is very interesting to know that Basavappa Shaastri did not know the ABCD of English literature. Then you can question me how he could translate Shakespeare's Othello from English into Kannada without knowing English. Of course, that is a question, but persons, poets, dramatists like Basavappa Shaastri solved that problem in his or her own ways. Basavappa Shaastri took the help of someone who was good in English. With the help of that someone, he himself translated Shakespeare's Othello into Kannada as Surasena. That is a courageous and bravery one, and etc. Of course, other adjectives can be added here. So Basavappa Shaastri did that. Now that Surasena is also one of the popular dramas translated by Basavappa Shaastri. Basavappa Shaastri had to his credit round about 15 to 16 works. Some of them were poetry and others are dramas. Basavappa Shaastri was a court poet of Chamarajendra Vadiyar, and in 1881, I think, his song was selected, his song was chosen as a state anthem of Mysore kingdom, that is Mysore province. Before independence of India, Mysore was a province and Vadiyars were ruling that Mysore province, and at that time that Basavappa Shastri's song was become an anthem of the province. He composed Kayo Sri Gauri in Kannada, and that Kayo Sri Gauri was the anthem of Mysore province till 1947. At that time, that is after the acceptance of national anthem Jana Gana Mana, so it has it lost its state anthemship. So, Basavappa Shastri had such a power to compose poems and dramas in his own way. That Basavappa Shastri did it in the end of the 19th century. But even today, we are in the 21st century, we are following what he dreamt, what he wrote, what he composed. Because generally poets, dramatists and literatures don't die in their own period. Their legacy will be continued on and on. That is the legacy of Basavappa Shastri. And Basavappa Shastri became a friend and philosopher of Chamarajendra Vadiyar. That Chamarajendra Vadiyar started a drama company, Jaya Chamarajendra Krupa Poshita Nataka Sabhe, and that Krupa Poshita Nataka Sabhe staged so many dramas of Basavappa Shastri. Sometimes he composed dramas for the sake of that Chamarajendra Krupa Poshita Nataka Sabhe. Whatever he composed had been accepted, and they were staged, and they were entertained, and they gave a message to the people of Mysore province in particular, and the humanity in general. It shows to what extent Basavappa Shastri played an important role in the province of Mysore under the Vadiyar's regime. So, like this, we come to know something about the Basavappa Shastri. But now, popularly, so many people remember Mysore Dasara, but behind that Dasara, there were so many efforts of so many persons. So at the time of Dasara, we come to remember, or we remember that Basavappa Shastri also. Because Basavappa Shastri had not only contributed to the development of Mysore province, but he also contributed more to the Kannada language, literature and culture. That is why, after his passing away of 2 centuries roundabout, we remember Basavappa Shastri for his writings, for his culture, for his behavior, for his literature, for his foresightedness, for his commitment, for his practice, for his progressive tradition. Of course, that tradition is there. Whenever I talk of progressive, whenever I use the word progressive tradition, some people think otherwise. Even in Russia, at the time of communism, there was a institution. The name of that institution was Christianity for Communism. So these traditions play their own roles in a different ways. By protecting their own understandings, their own traditions, etc. On the other way, persons, peoples, or writers, dramatists, scholars, and poets have their own traditions, and through that traditions, they try to focus their light, they try to lamp the light of humanity. They show the silver line to the society, to the disappointed society. So, Basavappa Shastri is remembered for that. Now Basavappa Shastri is no more, but his works are there, his message is there, his literature is there, and etc. But Basavappa Shastri's end was very tragic. He died at the age of 48 years. That was, he died in an accident. One day, he was going for outing in a horse-drawn carriage. At that time, there were no vehicles of this type. There were no cars of this type. They were emerging at that time. But horse-drawn carriages were very popular at that time. So, Basavappa Shaastri was going for an outing in a 4 horse-drawn carriage. At that time, that carriage met the accident, and in that accident, Basavappa Shaastri became dead. He was no more, he passed away. But of course, that accident could have taken away the life of Basavappa Shaastri, but it could not take the literature he left behind him, the Kannada language he used at that time, the culture he practiced and followed at that time, because these are the unperishable things. Language, literature, traditions, customs and culture are unperished things. They are the rulers in their own ways. They are rulerless rulers. Some kings can rule the state or country for some time, but after some time they would be no more. But persons like Basavappa Shaastri and poets like Basavappa Shaastri, dramatists like Basavappa Shaastri live for ever and ever. So, whenever Dasara comes, Mysore Dasara comes, definitely we also remember poet and philosopher, translator and dramatist, progressive traditional persons like Basavappa Shaastri, on and on. So, that Basavappa Shaastri was died in that tragic incident in 1891, I think, of Common Era. Of course, now Basavappa Shaastri is not with us, but his works, his culture, his traditions followed are with us, and they say what type of Basavappa Shaastri was there, what type of culture he followed. That is what, dear viewers, I wanted to tell you. That is what I put before you, these things. Anyhow, share and subscribe. See you in the next episode. Namaskar. Thank you.